The silence was deeper than space itself. Across both fleets, soldiers stared at their screens. The Imperial flagship was gone. War Marshal Krelton was dead, and one human fighter pilot had done what entire battle groups could not. Chancellor Vorik sat in his private ship, which had been racing toward the battle since it started. His hands shook as he watched the recordings. Captain Hyunwoo's fighter, smaller than a shuttle, diving into the Devastator. The explosion that followed. Brilliant, terrible, final. "Open a channel to New Taean," he said. His voice sounded old, tired. "To Premier Sung-ho, immediately." On New Taean's surface in the command center, Premier Sung-ho stood with his advisors. They had watched the battle from the ground, helpless, unable to do anything except hope their defenders would be enough. When Hyunwoo's fighter disappeared into the weapon, the entire city had gone silent. People stopped in streets. Children stopped playing. Everyone understood what they had just witnessed. A sacrifice so complete that it would echo through history forever. General Dayun stood alone in a corner. Her face showed no emotion, but inside her heart was breaking. She had trained Hyunwoo, watched him grow from an eager recruit into one of their finest pilots. She had known him for 20 years, and now he was gone. The communication terminal beeped. Chancellor Vorik's face appeared on the screen. He looked ancient, broken. "Premier Sung-ho," Vorik said slowly, "I come to offer my apologies. What happened here should never have occurred." War Marshal Krelton exceeded his authority. He acted without council approval. His actions were criminal. Sung-ho studied the Chancellor's face. "Apologies do not bring back the dead? Apologies do not undo what happened. No, they do not. But perhaps they can be the beginning of something better. I watched your broadcast. I saw the evidence of conspiracy on both sides. I saw how we were manipulated by those who profit from conflict. And I saw Captain Hyunwoo's sacrifice. That was not the action of a species that wants war. That was the action of people who value life above everything. What are you proposing?" Vorik took a deep breath. "Peace, real peace. Not imperial control disguised as protection. Not submission hidden behind treaties. True peace between equals. New Taean remains independent. You govern yourselves. In return, you establish diplomatic relations with the Empire. We trade as partners, not as master and subject." General Dayun stepped forward. Her voice was sharp, dangerous. "Why should we trust anything the Empire promises? Your words mean nothing. Because I am putting my personal honor behind this treaty. Because I am proposing that Ambassador Ji-won become the first permanent human representative to the High Council. Because every conspirator on our side will face public trial. The galaxy will see us take responsibility." Sung-ho looked at his advisors. They had hidden for 8 centuries, believing isolation was the only safety. But maybe that time was over. Maybe Hyunwoo's sacrifice had bought them something more valuable than victory. Maybe it had bought them a future. "We need guarantees," Sung-ho said carefully. "Written into the treaty, no imperial military in our system without permission. No economic pressure to force our compliance. We remain truly independent, agreed? All of it. Written and binding. And the conspirators on our side face justice too. We do not protect criminals, no matter their reasons." I would expect nothing less. The negotiations took 3 days. Representatives from both sides worked constantly. Every word was examined. Every clause debated. But slowly, carefully, they built something neither side thought possible. A genuine peace treaty between equals. Ambassador Ji-won worked as the bridge. She understood both sides, had lived with imperial citizens but was human in her soul. When arguments threatened to destroy the talks, she found compromises. When old hatreds rose up, she reminded everyone why they were here. On the 3rd day, she stood in the archives with Young-soo. She had come to say goodbye. "You are really leaving," Young-soo said. "Not a question. A sad statement, I have to. Someone needs to represent humanity in the High Council, someone who understands both worlds. That is my responsibility now." Young-soo smiled. It was a sad smile. The galaxy does not know what is coming. They think they are getting just another diplomat. They do not realize they are getting humanity's voice, and that voice will change everything. Ji-won laughed quietly. "I am not sure I am ready for that. No one ever is. But you will do it anyway, because that is what humans do. We face impossible things and try anyway." The treaty signing happened 1 week after the battle. Premier Sung-ho and Chancellor Vorik met at a neutral station built specifically for this moment. Representatives from across the galaxy watched. "This is not the end of all problems," Sung Ho said as he signed. "There will be disagreements, misunderstandings, people who oppose this peace." "Yes," Vorik agreed. "But we will face those challenges together. As partners. As equals." The news spread across the Empire within hours. Humanity had returned. Humanity had fought the Imperial fleet to a standstill. Humanity had sacrificed to prevent massacre. And now humanity would have a voice in galactic affairs. Reactions were mixed. Some species saw opportunity, others feared what it meant. But everyone agreed the galaxy had changed forever. General Dayun stood at the memorial they built for Captain Hyunwoo. Simple stone, carved with his name and the names of every pilot who fell in the battle. Above them all, words in old human standard. They gave everything so humanity could live free. Da-un placed flowers at the base. She did this every day now. Would probably do it for the rest of her life. "We will not waste what you gave us," she whispered. "I promise." Months passed. The treaty held. Trade began carefully between New Tayan and the Empire. Human technology flowed outward, improving ships and systems. In return, New Tayan received resources and knowledge from across the galaxy. Ambassador Jiwon took her seat in the High Council. She was the youngest member by far. The only human. Some representatives were suspicious. Others ignored her. But slowly, through patient words and careful diplomacy, she began changing minds. She talked about Earth, about what humanity lost, about extinction and survival. She talked about every species' right to determine their own future. She talked about the dangers of empire and the value of partnership, and people listened. On New Tayan, society kept evolving. Heijin's activist movement grew stronger. They pushed for greater engagement with the galaxy. Premier Sung Ho balanced old caution with young enthusiasm. It was not easy, but they made it work. Young-soo continued in the archives. But now he had a new project, recording everything about first contact and the battle, making sure future generations would know how close they came to war, how peace was preserved. 1 year after the treaty, a ceremony was held on New Tayan. Representatives from across the Empire attended. Citizens from every human settlement came. They gathered to dedicate a new monument. It was a statue of Captain Hyunwoo, standing beside his fighter, looking up at the stars. At the base, 3 words in every language: "Humanity endures forever." As the sun set, young Minho stood with his family watching. He was 8 years old. His teacher explained what happened here. How people thought humans were extinct, but they were wrong. Humans survived, built a civilization, and when the time came, showed the galaxy what they could do. Minho looked at Hyunwoo's statue and made a silent promise. He would study hard, train hard, make sure the sacrifice was not wasted. He would be part of humanity's future, because that was what humans did. They survived. They adapted. They refused to quit. They did it on Earth for millions of years. They did it on New Tayan for 8 centuries, and they would keep doing it forever. Ambassador Jiwon stood on the platform beside Premier Sung Ho and Chancellor Vorik. She looked at the crowd. Humans and aliens together, old enemies becoming friends. A future that seemed impossible 1 year ago. The galaxy thought humanity was history, a dead species, a footnote. They were wrong. Humanity was not ending. Humanity was just starting its next chapter, and this time they would write it themselves. As the ceremony ended, Minho tugged his mother's hand. "Mom, when I grow up, I want to be a pilot. Like Captain Hyunwoo." His mother smiled and touched his hair. "Then you will be. Because you are human, and humans can do anything." High above, stars appeared in the darkening sky. They had watched humanity for billions of years. Watched humans rise and fall and rise again. They would keep watching as humanity reached out to touch them. The Empire found a lost civilization. They found humans thriving, fighting, refusing to fade away. And in finding humanity, they learned something about themselves. Strength was not about fleet size or weapon power. Strength was about standing up for what was right when everything seemed impossible. That was humanity's lesson. That was Hyunwoo's gift. That was why people looked forward with hope instead of fear, because humanity proved something essential, something that would echo across stars forever. The human spirit, once lit, could never be extinguished. It might hide. It might be tested. But it would endure, always, forever. The morning sun rose over New Taean. Orange and gold light painted the sky. In orbit above, Captain Hyunwoo sat in his fighter cockpit. His hands moved through pre-flight checks automatically. He had done this so many times he did not need to think about it, but his mind would not stop thinking anyway. General Da-eun's voice came through his helmet speakers. All units, listen carefully. The Imperial fleet is moving. War Marshal Krelton is advancing toward our defensive line. All fighters prepare. This might be it. Hyunwoo took a slow breath. Let it out slowly. This was what his whole life had prepared him for. 20 years of training, 20 years of simulations, all leading to this moment. He looked down at the planet below. Somewhere down there, his parents were probably eating breakfast. His younger brother was probably getting ready for school. They had no idea how close they were to war. On the surface, in a bunker under the government building, Ji-won and Young-soo worked at their computers. Their fingers flew across keyboards. They had maybe 3 hours left before the conspirators planned attacks. 3 hours to stop a war? I found another message, Young-soo said. His voice was tight with stress. Between someone in your security team and a Taean officer. They are talking about final preparations, Ji-won's heart pounded. Can you trace where they are? Working on it. Give me a minute. Every second felt like an hour. Ji-won stared at her screen, watching code scroll past. Watching Young-soo's fingers dance across his keyboard. Watching time run out, got it. Young-soo practically shouted. They are in the industrial sector. Warehouse district. Here are the coordinates. Ji-won grabbed her communicator so fast she almost dropped it. General Da-eun, we have their location. Sending it now. You need to move fast. 20 minutes later, General Da-eun stood outside a warehouse with her strike team. They moved silently into position. Hand signals only, no words. On her mark, they burst through every door at once. Inside, 6 people stood around a holographic display. 3 wore Imperial uniforms. 3 wore Tian military colors. They were reviewing plans, timing their attacks, making final preparations to kill hundreds of innocents. They barely had time to look up before soldiers grabbed them. Weapons clattered to the floor. Within seconds, all 6 were face down with hands secured behind their backs. Da-eun walked up to the senior Taean officer. Captain Jae-sung. She looked down at him with cold eyes. Tell me why. Why betray your own people? Jae-sung glared up at her. Betray? I am saving us. You are the traitor. You and the Premier and everyone who thinks peace is possible. The Empire will destroy us. I am just making sure we strike first. You plan to blow up a school. Children would have died. Sacrifices are necessary in war. You are too weak to understand that. Da-eun's fist connected with his face. Hard. She heard something crack, probably his nose. You do not get to talk about sacrifice. Real soldiers protect children. They do not murder them. But even as they arrested the conspirators on the surface, something was happening in space. Something they could not control. An Imperial destroyer suddenly changed course. It accelerated toward a Taean orbital station. The station held thousands of civilians, families, workers, people who had nothing to do with military matters. The destroyer's commander had received orders. Orders that seemed to come from War Marshal Krelton himself. Orders to demonstrate Imperial power by attacking the station. But the orders were fake. Sent by conspirators as their final desperate move. Captain Hyunwoo saw the destroyer moving. He understood instantly what was happening. All fighters, emergency intercept. That destroyer is heading for Station 7. Civilians on board. We have to stop it, his fighter shot forward. The engine screamed as it pushed past safe limits. Other Taean fighters formed up around him. They moved as one unit, one mind. One purpose, the destroyer's weapons started glowing. Power building. Ready to fire. The destroyer's commander broadcast a message. Taean fighters, break off or be destroyed. I have direct orders from War Marshal Krelton. Hyunwoo opened a channel. His voice was calm, steady. Commander, those are not real orders. You are being manipulated. Power down before people die. I know my orders, Captain. Move aside. The destroyer fired. Not at the station. At Hyunwoo's fighter. A warning shot that came so close it made his shields flare white. Hyunwoo made a choice. He armed his weapons. Locked onto the destroyer's weapon systems. I am sorry, Commander, but I cannot let you kill innocents, he fired. Precise shots. Surgical strikes. Not at the hull. Not at the crew. Just the weapon arrays. Disabling them without destroying the ship. The destroyer went dark. Dead in space. No power, no weapons, no threat, but the damage was done. The first shots had been fired. Across the system, both fleets received urgent messages. Imperial ship attacks Taiyan forces. Taiyan fighters respond with violence. The battle has started. War Marshal Krelton aboard his flagship received the reports. His face showed grim satisfaction. So the humans show their true nature. All ships engage. Show them Imperial power. The Third Fleet moved forward like a hammer falling. Dozens of capital ships. Hundreds of fighters. Thousands of weapons. All aimed at New Taiyan. But Krelton had never actually fought humans before. He had studied old battles. Analyzed ancient tactics. But he had never faced them in real combat. He was about to learn why that was a mistake. The Taiyan defense force was smaller. Fewer ships. Less total firepower. But they had spent 8 centuries preparing for exactly this. Every pilot had trained since childhood. Every ship was designed specifically for defending their world. Every strategy had been refined through endless simulations. Captain Hyunwoo led his squadron against the approaching Imperial fighters. The battle became chaos. Ships everywhere, weapons fire lighting up space like lightning, explosions blooming like deadly flowers. Imperial fighters were powerful but slow, big, heavily armored. Built to take punishment and keep fighting, Taiyan fighters were fast, agile. They moved like water flowing around rocks. Where Imperial pilots followed standard formations, Taiyan pilots adapted instantly. They anticipated. They improvised. They fought like they had nothing to lose. Within an hour, the numbers told the story. Imperial fighters fell steadily. Taiyan fighters took losses too, but far fewer. For every human ship destroyed, 5 Imperial vessels went dark. On Krelton's flagship, his tactical officer's voice shook. "Sir, we are losing fighters faster than projected." "Much faster. Their pilots are better than ours. Then use the capital ships. Bring up the heavy guns. Destroy their orbital defenses." But the capital ships did not fare better. Taiyan defense platforms unleashed weapons the Empire had never seen. Missiles that split into swarms of smaller warheads. Energy beams that cut through shields like they were not there. Mines that only activated when Imperial ships were too close to escape. The battle raged for 3 hours. 3 hours of death and fire and desperate courage. Both sides took heavy casualties. But the ratio stayed constant. For every Taiyan ship destroyed, 5 Imperial vessels died. In the middle of the chaos, Ji-won and Young-soo finally broke through military encryption. They accessed both fleets' communication networks. They uploaded all the evidence they had gathered. Communication logs, financial records, video of the conspirators' meetings, everything. "Broadcasting now," Young-soo said. "Every ship. Both fleets. Everyone will see it." Across the system, on every ship and every communicator, the evidence appeared. Soldiers on both sides saw the conspiracy laid bare. They saw their own officers working with enemy agents. They saw the planned attacks on civilians. They saw how they had been manipulated. On his flagship, War Marshal Krelton stared at the evidence on his screen. His face went pale. "Stop the attack." All ships ceased fire immediately, but not everyone obeyed. Some captains believed the evidence was fake. Some were loyal to Krelton personally and would follow him into death. Some just did not care. The chaos got worse. Some Imperial ships stopped fighting. Some kept attacking. Some started firing at each other as loyalties fractured. And in the middle of it all, War Marshal Krelton saw an opportunity. His ultimate weapon, the Devastator, a planet killer that could destroy New Taiyan's capital in one shot. Kill millions. Break human resistance forever. He gave the order to fire. General Da-un saw the weapon powering up. She understood what was happening. "All ships, emergency intercept. The flagship is preparing the Devastator." Captain Hyunwoo heard the order and felt ice flood his body. The Devastator could not be stopped by normal weapons. The only way to disable it was to destroy its power core. From inside, it was a suicide mission. He thought about his family, his parents, his brother, the children playing in parks, the millions of people who would die if he failed. He made his choice. "General, beginning my attack run." Hyunwoo, no. "There must be another way." "There is not." "We both know it." His fighter accelerated. Faster than it was designed to go, other Taiyan fighters formed around him, covering him, sacrificing themselves to clear his path. The Devastator's barrel glowed with building energy. 5 seconds until it could fire. Hyunwoo's shields failed. His armor cracked. Warning alarms screamed in his ears. 3 seconds. He armed every missile he had left, locked them all on the power core deep inside the weapon. 2 seconds. War Marshal Krelton stood in his private command center. Holographic displays showed fleet positions across space. His officers waited behind him in silence. They knew not to speak unless spoken to. The diplomat has been on their planet for 2 weeks now, Krelton said. His voice was cold. 2 weeks of talking, of drinking tea, of pretending these humans are not a threat. The council wastes time while danger grows. What are your orders, War Marshal? An officer asked. Krelton turned to face them. I am ordering the Third Fleet to conduct training exercises near the Kepler system. Just routine maneuvers. Nothing threatening. But if the humans react badly, we will know their true nature. And if the Council questions this, the Council does not need to know every training exercise. I am protecting the Empire. That is my duty. On New Tayan, Jiwan walked through the archives with Youngsu. He was showing her more treasures from Earth. Old books, ancient art, music that had not been heard in centuries. Our ancestors saved everything they could, Youngsu explained. When they fled Earth, they knew they might be the last humans alive. So they preserved our entire history, every story, every song, everything that made us human. Jiwan touched a glass case holding a painting. It showed Earth from space, blue and green and beautiful. My grandmother told me stories about Earth, but we had no pictures, no proof, just memories of memories. That is why we stay hidden, Youngsu said. When you depend on others for survival, they control your past, your present, your future. Independence means remembering who you are. But in another part of the city, Haijin was speaking to a growing crowd, young people who disagreed with their government's isolation, who saw the Empire's arrival as opportunity, not threat. Our leaders are afraid, Haijin said. Her voice rang out across the square. They remember Earth's fall and let that fear control them. But we are not our parents. We are not our grandparents. We have no memory of defeat. We should embrace the galaxy, not hide from it. The Empire could destroy us, someone shouted from the crowd. The Empire could also help us grow, could share knowledge, could make us stronger. Hiding makes us weak. Only by facing the galaxy can we truly be strong. Her words resonated with many young people. They were tired of isolation, tired of their parents' fears. They wanted to see the stars, meet other species, be part of something bigger than one hidden planet. Premier Sung-ho knew about Haijin's movement. He understood the division in his society. But he also understood something the young did not. The galaxy was dangerous. The Empire was dangerous. Freedom had to be protected or it would be lost. Late one night, Sung-ho was working in his office when the building shook. Not much, just a tremor, but enough to make him look up. Then alarms started blaring throughout the city. General Da-un burst through his door. Her face was pale. Premier, the central power grid. 3 generators destroyed, explosion, 2 workers are dead. Sung-ho stood quickly. How did this happen? Our security is supposed to be perfect. Security cameras caught someone leaving the scene. Da-un handed him a data pad. You need to see this. On the screen, a figure in an Imperial uniform walked away from the explosion site. The image was clear. Too clear. As if someone wanted them to see it. One of the ambassador's security team, Da-un said. Lieutenant Park, we have confirmed his identity. Sung-ho felt sick. This was exactly what he feared. Where is Ambassador Jiwan? In her quarters. We are monitoring her. She seems shocked by this news. She has been trying to contact her ship. Bring her here now. Jiwan arrived within minutes. She was still in her sleeping clothes. Her hair was messy. Her eyes were wide. Premier, please tell me this is not what it looks like. Please tell me my people did not do this. The evidence is clear, Ambassador. The cameras show what someone wanted you to see. Lieutenant Park has served with me for 5 years. He would never do this. This is a setup. General Da-un stepped forward. Her hand rested on her weapon. A setup? Who would do such a thing? Jiwan's mind raced. She thought about everything she had learned. About the conspirators they had found. About the division in both societies. Someone who wants war. Someone who believes peace is dangerous. Think about it. This attack was too obvious. Too easy to trace. As if someone wanted us to find the evidence. Sung-ho considered her words. Continue. What if someone in your military worked with hardliners in my government? What if they planned this together? The Empire has officers who fear you. You must have people who fear us. What if they found each other? Daeun's expression changed. The anger faded. Understanding replaced it. That would require inside knowledge. Access to our security systems and your diplomatic team. Can you find them? Ji-won asked. Yes, but it will take time. Time is something we do not have. Sung-ho touched a control on his desk. A star map appeared. Red dots surrounded the Kepler system. Our sensors detected this an hour ago. Imperial Battle Fleet, War Marshal Kreltan's Third Fleet. They say they are conducting training exercises. Ji-won felt cold fear. That is not normal procedure. Kreltan must be moving without council approval. He is one of the hardliners I warned you about. Then we have enemies on both sides, Sung-ho said quietly, and they are moving faster than we can stop them. For 3 days, Ji-won and Da-eun worked together. They tracked communications, reviewed security footage, interviewed suspects. Slowly, they uncovered the conspiracy. Young officers on New Taean who believed war was inevitable. Imperial officers who believed humans needed to be destroyed. All working together, planning together. They found evidence of secret meetings, money transfers, coded messages. The conspiracy ran deeper than they feared, and at its center was a plan that made Ji-won's blood run cold. They are planning another attack, she told Sung-ho and Da-eun. 2 targets hit simultaneously. An Imperial transport carrying civilian families, and a school here in your capital. Both destroyed at the same moment. When? Sung-ho demanded. Tomorrow. If these attacks happen, the casualties will make peace impossible. Both governments will have no choice but to fight. Daeun's hands became fists. We know where the conspirators are meeting. We can arrest them before they act. But will that stop the war? Ji-won asked. Kreltan's fleet is already here. Your military is on alert. Even if we stop these attacks, how do we stop the momentum toward conflict? Sung-ho walked to the window. He looked out over his city, his people, millions of lives that depended on his decisions. We prove that peace is possible. We expose the conspiracy so loudly that both sides must listen. We show everyone that conflict only serves those who profit from death. And if that fails? Da-eun asked. Sung-ho turned back to them. His eyes were hard, determined. Then we remind the Empire what it costs to fight humanity. We show them why our species survived when so many others fell. We show them, Da-eun added, that humans do not surrender. Not ever. The next morning came too fast. In orbit above New Taean, Captain Hyun-woo sat in his fighter running pre-flight checks. He had done this 1,000 times. But today felt different. Today felt like everything was about to change. General Da-eun's voice came through his communications. All units, this is command. Imperial fleet is moving closer. They are approaching our defensive perimeter. All fighters prepare for possible combat. Hyun-woo took a deep breath. This was what he trained for. What his whole life had prepared him for. But knowing that did not make it easier. On the surface, in a secure bunker, Ji-won and Young-soo worked at computer terminals. They had less than 4 hours to stop the conspiracy. Every message they decoded added another piece to the puzzle. Every connection they found brought them closer to the truth. I found something, Young-soo said suddenly. A communication between your security team and one of our junior officers. They are meeting right now, outside the city. Ji-won grabbed her communicator. General, we have their location. Sending coordinates now. Daeun's strike team moved fast. They surrounded the warehouse where the conspirators met. Inside, 6 people stood around a holographic display. 3 in Imperial uniforms, 3 in Taean military colors. Planning their attack, planning their war. The doors burst open. Soldiers rushed in. The conspirators reached for weapons, but it was too late. Within seconds, they were on the ground with hands bound. Da-eun walked up to the senior Taean officer, a captain named Jae-sung. Why would you do this? Jae-sung looked up at her with hard eyes. Because you are weak. All of you. You think peace is possible? The Empire will destroy us the moment we show weakness. Better to strike first. You would kill children for your war? I would do anything to ensure humanity survives. Da-eun hit him across the face hard. You know nothing about survival. You are not a soldier. You are a murderer. But even as they arrested the conspirators, events were moving beyond their control. In space, War Marshal Kreltan sent a message to New Taean. He demanded they submit to Imperial authority. The message was aggressive, threatening, designed to provoke. And somewhere in his fleet, officers loyal to the conspiracy prepared to act. They had one last card to play, one final way to make war inevitable. They were going to fire the first shot. The council chamber was built to make people feel small. Giant pillars reached up into darkness. Holographic star maps floated in the air like ghosts. 20 species sat in a circle around the center platform, their faces lit by blue screens. Chancellor Vorik stood in the middle. He was old, very old. He had led the council for 30 years. He had seen wars and peace treaties and the rise and fall of entire civilizations. But nothing had prepared him for this. "Let me understand," War Marshal Krelton said. His voice was angry, disbelieving. "You say there are living humans? Millions of them? Hidden for 800 years? Commander Thralvek stood before them all. He felt very small. "Yes, War Marshal. I have recordings, data proof humanity survived. They built a new world. They call it New Tayan." The chamber exploded with noise. Representatives shouted, demanded answers. Some were afraid. Some were angry. All were shocked. Chancellor Vorik raised his hand. Slowly the noise died down. "This changes everything. Humans were always dangerous, too adaptable, too stubborn. When Earth fell, many in this room felt relief. Relief was correct, Krelton said. Humans never understood their place. They questioned everything, challenged everything. They made the galaxy unstable. If they are back, we must control them quickly." A voice rang out from the upper seats. "Maybe we should try peace first." Everyone looked up. Ambassador Jiwan walked down the steps. She was young, only 40 years old. She represented the last survivors of Colony Gamma 7, a small human settlement that lived under Vrelian protection. For her whole life, she thought her people were almost extinct. 10,000 souls. That was all that was left. Then she learned about New Tayan. Millions of humans. A whole civilization. It broke her heart and filled it at the same time. "Ambassador G1," Chancellor Vorik said gently, "I know this news affects you personally, but you must understand our concerns. I understand fear, Chancellor. I have lived with it every day. Fear that my people would be forgotten. Fear that we would die out. But now I learn that millions of humans survived, that they built a civilization, that they are strong. And your first thought is to control them." Several representatives looked uncomfortable. They shifted in their seats, looked away. "We do not know what they want," G1 continued. "We do not know who they are. We only know they exist. So I ask you, do we greet them with open hands or closed fists? Do we try to understand them or make them our enemies?" Chancellor Vorik studied her carefully. "What do you suggest?" "Send me to them. Let me lead a diplomatic mission. I am human like them. Let me speak to them. Learn what they want. Find out if peace is possible. Try that before you talk about war." War Marshal Krelton laughed. It was not a kind sound. "Send one diplomat to face an unknown military power? That is foolish." "Then let it be my foolishness," Jiwan said. Her voice was steady, strong. "I would rather die trying to understand my people than live while the Empire destroys them." The council argued for hours, back and forth. Should they send diplomats or soldiers? Should they offer peace or demand surrender? Finally, Chancellor Vorik decided. G1 would go to New Tayan. She would take a small ship. No weapons. Only messages of friendship. If the humans attacked, the Empire would know what they were. If the humans talked, maybe something good could happen. 3 weeks later, G1 stood on her ship as it entered the Kepler system. Her heart beat so hard it hurt. Down there on that blue planet, her people lived. Real humans. Not scattered survivors, but a true civilization. The same voice that greeted Commander Thralvex came through the speakers. "Unknown ship, state your purpose. This is Ambassador G1 of the Vrelian Empire. I come in peace. I seek dialogue with the leaders of New Tayan. I am human like you. I only want to understand my people." Silence. Long silence. Then a different voice. Older. Female. Full of authority. "Ambassador G1, this is Premier Sung Ho. Your presence raises questions. Land at these coordinates. Come alone. We will talk." The ship descended through white clouds. Below, G1 saw cities that took her breath away. Buildings that grew from the earth like trees. Farms stretching for miles. Ships moving through the sky. It was beautiful. It was human. It was everything her people had lost when Earth died. She landed at a platform outside the capital. Soldiers in dark uniforms waited for her. A woman with gray hair and sharp eyes stepped forward. Her uniform showed high rank. General Dayun, the woman said. She held out her hand the old way. The human way. Welcome to New Tayan, Ambassador. Ji-won took her hand, felt the strong grip. Thank you for receiving me, General. The Premier is waiting. Follow me. They walked through streets full of people. Children played in parks. Markets sold food and clothes. Musicians performed on corners. It was so normal, so human. Ji-won felt tears in her eyes. This was what her ancestors lost. This was what these people kept alive. The government building was simple, made of local stone. Big windows let in sunlight. Premier Sung-ho waited in an office with a wooden desk. He was old, maybe 70, with kind eyes and a tired face. He stood when Ji-won entered. Sit, please. Would you like tea? It is grown here, from seeds our ancestors brought from Earth. Ji-won nodded. She did not trust her voice. Sung-ho poured tea from a ceramic pot. The smell brought back memories of her grandmother's stories. You have questions, Sung-ho said gently. Why did you hide? For 800 years you let us think humanity was dead. Why? Sung-ho drank his tea slowly. Because we watched what happened to Earth. We saw the wars that destroyed the colonies. We saw how the great powers absorbed smaller civilizations, promised protection but delivered control. Our ancestors decided that if humanity was to survive, we needed to stay hidden until we were strong. And now, are you strong enough? General Daun answered from by the door. We have had 800 years to prepare, Ambassador. We have weapons your empire never saw. We have strategies that would shock your military. We have the will of people who lost everything once and will not lose again. Yes, we are strong. Sung-ho raised his hand. What the general means is we can defend ourselves. But we do not want war. We only want to live free, to make our own choices. The empire will not allow that, Ji-won said quietly. They fear you. They fear what you represent. They will try to control you or destroy you. Then they will learn what it means to fight humans, Daeun said coldly. Sung-ho looked at Ji-won with sad eyes. Is there no hope for peace? No way we can exist together? Ji-won thought carefully. Maybe, but it needs trust on both sides. And right now nobody trusts anyone. They talked for hours. About history and culture. About fear and hope. About humanity's future. As the sun set over New Tayan, Ji-won understood something important. These people were not just survivors. They were the true children of Earth. They kept everything that made humans special while the galaxy forgot. Over the next days, Ji-won explored the city. A young historian named Young-soo showed her the archives, a massive building filled with books and art and music from Earth. Everything humanity had created over thousands of years. Preserved. Protected. Remembered. This is incredible, Ji-won whispered. She touched old books with shaking hands. My people on Gamma 7 have so little. A few stories. Some songs. We lost almost everything. Young-soo looked sad. That is what happens when you depend on others. They control what you remember, what you know, who you are. Our ancestors chose to hide so we could remember, really remember. But not everyone on New Tayan wanted to hide. In the lower city, a young woman named Hae-jin led a movement of activists. They were young people who believed isolation was wrong. They wanted to rejoin the galaxy, share knowledge, learn from others. Our parents chose fear, Hae-jin told her followers. They hid from the galaxy. But we are young. We have no memory of defeat. We should face the galaxy with courage, not hide like scared children. Premier Sung-ho knew about these movements. He understood the divide growing in his society. Young people wanted to embrace the galaxy. Old people wanted to stay hidden. He stood in the middle, trying to hold everything together. Then disaster struck. An explosion rocked the city's power grid. Alarms blared. Emergency lights flashed. General Daeun ran to inform the premier. 2 workers dead, 7 injured. Someone sabotaged the generators. Do we know who? Daeun showed him security footage. A person in an imperial uniform leaving the scene. One of Ji-won's security escorts. Sung-ho felt cold. This was what he feared. Someone wanted war. Someone wanted to make peace impossible. When Ji-won learned what happened, she knew immediately it was wrong. Premier, my people did not do this. I know them. This is a setup. Someone wants us to fight. A setup by whom? Taeyeon asked. Someone on your side or mine who believes war serves their interests. Someone who fears peace more than conflict. They investigated together, days of checking records, reviewing footage, questioning suspects, and they found it. A conspiracy. Young military officers on New Taeyeon who believed war was coming and wanted to strike first. Imperial officers who believed humans needed to be destroyed. Working together. Planning together. But before they could stop it, they discovered something worse. The conspirators were planning another attack, this time targeting civilians, making peace truly impossible, and War Marshal Krelton's fleet was already approaching the system. The massive ship cut through the darkness of space like a knife through silk. Commander Thralvek stood on the bridge of the Imperial survey vessel Dominance, his 3 eyes fixed on the display screens before him. For 20 years he had served the Vrelian Empire, mapping dead systems and cataloging worthless rocks. Today felt different. "Commander, we're detecting something unusual," his science officer called out, her voice tight with confusion. "There's an energy signature coming from the 3rd planet. It's strong. Very strong." Thralvex moved closer to her station. The Kepler 442 system had been marked as a dead zone for centuries. Nothing lived here. Nothing should be here. Yet the readings on the screen showed clear signs of advanced technology. Power generators. Communication arrays. Defensive systems. Could it be a malfunction? He asked. "No, sir. I've run the diagnostics 3 times. This is real." The commander felt a chill run through his body. In all his years of service, he had never encountered anything like this. The Empire's record showed this system had been surveyed 800 years ago and found empty. What could have changed? "Take us closer," he ordered. "But stay alert. Raise shields and prepare weapons. We don't know what we're dealing with." The Dominance moved deeper into the system, approaching the 3rd planet. It was beautiful. Blue oceans covered most of its surface, with green continents scattered between them. White clouds drifted lazily across the atmosphere. It looked like a paradise world, the kind of planet that could support billions of lives. Suddenly, alarms blared across the bridge. Red lights flashed in every direction. "Commander, we're being jammed. All sensors are offline," the science officer shouted. Thralvex gripped the railing in front of him. His heart pounded in his chest. Someone knew they were here. Someone with technology advanced enough to blind an Imperial survey ship. "Battle stations. All crew to—" A voice crackled through the speakers, cutting him off. It spoke in a language Thralvex had only heard in historical archives. A language that belonged to a species that no longer existed. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered the sovereign space of the Taeyeon Republic. Power down your weapons and state your intentions. You have 60 seconds to comply." The bridge fell silent. Every crew member stared at the speakers as if they had just heard a ghost speak. Thralvex felt his legs weaken. He knew that language. Every educated citizen of the Empire knew it. It was old human standard, the language of humanity. But that was impossible. Humanity was extinct. "Commander, there's a ship approaching," the tactical officer announced. "Small craft. Single pilot. It's moving fast." On the main screen, a sleek fighter appeared. It was unlike any design Thralvex had ever seen. Sharp angles, smooth surfaces. It moved with a grace that made Imperial vessels look clumsy in comparison. The voice spoke again. "This is Captain Hyunwoo of the Taeyeon Defense Force. You are trespassing in protected space. Identify yourselves immediately or we will open fire." Thralvex found his voice, though it shook slightly. "This is Commander Thralvex of the Vrelian Imperial Survey Fleet. We meant no harm. We detected unusual readings and came to investigate. We were not aware anyone lived in this system." There was a long pause. Thralvex could almost feel the human pilot studying them, weighing their words, deciding their fate. "Stand by for boarding," Hyunwoo finally said. "Any aggressive action will result in your destruction. Do you understand?" "We understand. We will not resist." 20 minutes later, Thralvex stood in the docking bay as the human fighter landed smoothly on the deck. The airlock hissed open and a figure stepped out. The commander had seen images of humans in historical databases, but seeing one in person was entirely different. Hyunwoo was tall and lean, his body moving with the confidence of a trained warrior. He wore a dark uniform with strange symbols on the shoulders. His black hair was cut short, and his brown eyes studied the Vrelian crew with sharp intelligence. He carried no visible weapon, but Thralvex had no doubt the human could kill everyone in the bay if he chose to. "Commander Thralvex," Hyunwoo said, his accent strange but understandable. "You seem surprised to see me. Forgive me, Captain, but your species is supposed to be extinct. Earth was destroyed 800 years ago. The human colonies fell shortly after." "How is this possible?" A sad smile crossed Hyunwoo's face. "Earth is gone, yes. We know this. We remember. But humanity did not die with our homeworld. When the Great Collapse came, when everything fell apart, a fleet of colony ships escaped. My ancestors were on those ships. They fled through an experimental wormhole hoping to find safety. They found this world. They named it New Tyon, and they rebuilt everything from nothing." Thralvex felt like the floor had disappeared beneath his feet. An entire human civilization had been hiding here for 8 centuries. Hiding successfully. The implications were staggering. "Why hide?" he asked. "Why not reach out to the galaxy? The Empire would have protected you." Hyunwoo's expression hardened. "Protected us? Like you protected the Kalari? Like you protected the Nethran? My ancestors watched your empire absorb species after species, erasing their independence, controlling their lives. They decided our children deserved better. They chose isolation over subjugation." The word stung, but Thralvex could not deny their truth. The Empire did not conquer with armies alone. It conquered with treaties and economic dependence, with culture and politics. "Species that joined rarely left. What happens now?" Thralvex asked quietly. Hyunwoo studied him for a long moment. "Now you return to your empire. You tell them what you found. Tell them humanity lives. Tell them we are strong. We are united and we will not be controlled. Tell them we want peace, but we are prepared for war. Tell them to choose wisely." The human turned to leave, then paused. "One more thing, Commander. Your ship's computer now contains detailed information about our defensive capabilities. Study it carefully. Make sure your leaders understand what it means." Hyunwoo walked back to his fighter without another word. Within minutes he was gone, disappearing into the planet's atmosphere like a ghost returning to its haunting ground. Thralvex stood in the empty docking bay, his mind racing. Everything had changed in a single afternoon. Humanity was not extinct. Humanity had survived, adapted, and thrived in secret. The galaxy would never be the same again. He returned to the bridge and gave the order to return home. As the Dominants left the Kepler 442 system, Thralvex looked at the data Hyunwoo had uploaded. What he saw made his blood run cold. The humans were not just survivors. They were warriors who had spent 800 years preparing for the day they might be found. They had weapons the Empire had never seen. They had strategies that defied conventional warfare. They had the determination of a species that had already lost everything once and refused to lose again. The Empire had just discovered humanity. Thralvex feared they might soon regret it.